everyone, it's Jordan, and today I'm going to be talking about book series that I won't be finishing. So a couple of years ago, I talked about the series that I want to finish, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about book series that I'm not going to finish. I have a long list of book series. I might do more than one of these videos for this year just because there's so many book series, so I just decided not to finish. If you want to see me talk about book series that I won't be finishing other than in this video, let me know in the comments down below so I could do that in the next few months or whatever. But let's talk about the books that or book series that I won't be finishing. So if I sound a little funny, I apologize. My nose has just been stuffy the last couple of days. The weather's been very wacky last few days, and it kind of caused me to have a stuffy nose, so if I sound funny, I am sorry. But the first book series that I won't be finishing, and I'm really sad that I'm not going to be finishing this book series because I liked it, but those books just cost so much money on Amazon and get them on paperback, which is The Neverland Wars by Audrey Greyhouse. This is a book series that is a retelling of Peter Pan, but more like a kind of a retelling, but also like non-retelling at the same time, but it's mostly a Peter Pan retelling. It's mostly like everybody knows that Peter Pan exists, but some people have not seen Peter Pan. And then Gwen's sister wanted to whisk away with Peter Pan to Neverland, and then our main character decided to whisk away with her. So that's basically the synopsis of it. I read the first two books of the series, and I wanted to read it. I've read through the library that I used to go to, and I really enjoyed it. I wanted to own my own copies, but they cost like $20 to $25 on paperback, whether it's brand new or used. And I'm just like, you know what, I like this book series, but I think it's just time for me to give up on it, which is very unfortunate. But I did like the first two books of the series, and I'll never know what happens in the last one, and they don't have these books available on ebook either, which is very annoying. So yeah, I am sad that I won't be finishing this book series, but I did enjoy it while I read them at the time. And the next book series I won't be finishing, which is the Truly Devious series. I think that's what it's called, but let me double check, because sometimes, yeah, the Truly Devious series by Maureen Johnson. This is a YA mystery series that takes place in a boarding school, and this student, our main character who's a steward there, is trying to solve a murder that happened in that boarding school. I did enjoy it, don't get me wrong. I just wasn't curious enough to continue on with the series, which kind of happens. It's like I thought it was going to be a standalone versus a book series, to be honest with you, when it first came out. And again, I've read that. I did enjoy the first book, but I wasn't curious enough to continue on with the series. So, and I do like Maureen Johnson's books, because I know I've read 13 Little Blue Envelopes, which I enjoy. I still haven't read the sequel yet to that series, which is only a duology, thank goodness. But I just wasn't curious to continue on with the series with this one, but which is okay. I do like some YA mysteries as like a continuous story, but it's just with this one, I just wasn't curious enough to continue on with the series. So yeah, that's my reasons for not continuing this book series. The next book series is probably not a surprise to all of you, but the next book series that I won't be finishing, which is After by Anna Todd. I like the After series. I've read the first book, and it was like a 3-star read. I know the reason I read this because the movie was coming out, and I know my grandma loves this book series, and I kept telling her, sorry, my nose is getting a little stuffy, but I love my grandma, and don't get me wrong, I just could not I could not continue on with the story. I've watched all the movies. I prefer watching the movies than reading a 500-page book in each book series, and I'm pretty sure some of them came up to maybe 700 or 800 pages. I have no clue. I tried reading the second book, but I just could not get past page 1. I just think the characters were just too traumatic for me. Like I did not like how Harlan was playing Mr. Flip-Flop with Tessa. That literally got me mad, because I hate love interests that do that to the main character. That just drives me nuts, and I'm like, you either want to date this girl or you don't want to date this girl. I'm just against that kind of relationship. It just makes me think of things that happen to people in real life that I know, like, these are just their characters are not real, but it's just bugs the heck out of me, and I do not like characters that be like, oh, I want to date you, no, I don't want to date you, and it just be Mr. or Miss Flip-Flop, and I don't read a lot of bad boy, good girls, kind of trope kind of books. I know I've read one earlier this year that I enjoyed surprisingly, but I'm just not usually a big fan of good girl or good girl, bad boy tropes. So it's just with this, and the books are just way too long for me to want to continue it, and I just can't stand the relationship from this book. I am sorry for people who love it. I'm happy for you, but for me, I just can't stand it. So yeah, I have a lot. I've already raved about this book series, but yeah, those are the reasons that I'm not continuing with the series. And the next book series that I won't be finishing, which is Amber and Dusk series. It's only a duology, but I just wasn't curious enough to continue on with reading the last book. And if you haven't read the first book's about a girl who has a power of illusions, if I remember correctly, and then she was escorted to the palace to become the next royal. I don't know what the role it was. I haven't read this in like over 5 years, and the synopsis is right now in my head that I can't remember what this series is about. All I know is it's a YA fantasy, and that's all I remember of it. And like I said, I'm not continuing with the series just because I'm not curious enough to continue on with the series, and I thought it was going to be a standalone before I found out there was a sequel. I know I did own the sequel at one point, but then I think to myself, maybe I'm just not interested enough to continue on with the series, which I was right. So yeah, I'm sad about it, but at the same time, I'm like, there's nothing wrong with not continuing with the series because of you not curious enough to continue on, so, and that's what I keep telling myself. So yeah, that's my reasons for not continuing on with this series. And the next book series that I won't be finishing, which is the Royal series by Aaron Watt. I think that's the author's name. The first book is Paper Girl, or not Paper Girl, Paper Princess. Oh my gosh, my brain today. And yeah, I've read this a few years ago, and I think I give this 3 stars. I wasn't a fan of the characters. I know there was a character named Jordan, and she was basically the bully in this book, and I kind of did not like that part, but I just like seeing my name in books because there's not a lot of books with my first that shares the same name as me, and in this one it just bugged me a bit, but that was not the main reason why I'm not continuing with the series. It's just this book just was very complicated from when I've read it, and I thought I wanted to continue on with the series, but at the same time I'm like, it's not even worth it. I'm not a fan of the main characters from what I remember, and this one is just, it's not for me. I know there's some people that like this book series, and I'm happy for those people, but for me, I'm just not gonna, like, I'm really not gonna, like, continue on just because I didn't like the first book in the beginning with. So yeah, for my reason, I'm not continuing on with this series. The next book series, I know many people love this book series, but I couldn't finish it. And it's the Folk of Air series by Holly Black, which is, the first book is The Cruel Prince, which I did like, but for some reason with the second book, I DNF'd it, and I'm like, yeah, maybe this series is not for me. I'm just not a fan of the, I like I know I like the characters in the first book, well, the main character, and then I just did not like, I wasn't connected to the characters like I used to with the first book, which is very sad, but it happens. And I did give Holly Black a second chance recently, which I'll like the video where I did that in a Corey, so you guys can check it out. And maybe Holly Black's writing style doesn't fit with me for some reason. I don't know, but I was willing to give her a chance because I know she's a very popular author right now, and I did give her a second chance, like I said, but this book series, it wasn't a fit for me, and I'm okay with it. I'm happy for the people who love this book series, but it just didn't fit with me at all. So yeah, I know it's a very popular book series, like I said, but sometimes the popular books don't fit with me for some reason. Like, my brain tastes have changed over the years, and I know that I still like YA fantasy, but with this one, it just didn't fit with the fantasy that I like. So yeah, I gave up on it, even though other people really love this book series. And the next book series that I'm not finishing, and I have this written on my phone, is called Something Dark and Holy, by Emily Duncan, and the first book is Wicked Saints. I'm not gonna finish this book series, not because of the controversial from this author a few years ago. It's because I wasn't curious enough to continue on with the series. I liked the book fine with the first book and having multiple characters' perspectives, which is really, really cool, but I just wasn't curious enough to continue on with the series. That's mainly my reason. It wasn't bad, but it just wasn't good. I know I gave the first book 4 stars, but like I said, I decided not to continue on with the series because I wasn't curious enough to continue. So that's my reasons, not because of the controversial behind the author. I made that decision before the controversial, so yeah, for that reason, I just wasn't curious enough to continue on with the series. And the next book series that I'm not willing to continue on the series is the Belle series by Danielle Clayton, and I did enjoy the first book. I just wasn't curious enough to continue on with the series. I like the characters and I like the world. It just didn't mesh with me, but I'm willing to give this author a second chance because I really liked the characters that she created and the world that she created. I just decided not to continue with the series because I wasn't curious enough to continue on, because I know there's not a lot of fantasy standalones nowadays, and it's just, I wasn't that curious, and I wasn't, and the part that I did not like from the book series, if I remember correctly, is a lot of assaults that's going around, and I know many people had said trigger warning for assaults and all that, and I remember that, and I listened to that on audiobook if I remember correctly, and it just wasn't comfortable for me, and I know that's something that happened in the book, but either way, I just wasn't curious enough to continue on with the series. I liked the first book fine, but again, I just didn't want to continue on with the series. Okay, the next book series that I'm not continuing on, it's called Codex Arcanum, I think that's what it's called. I'll put the picture right there so you guys can check it out. And the first book is Sorcery of Beginners. It was cool when I read it, but again, I wasn't curious about continuing on with the series, and I think this book was trying to be like a Harry Potter-esque world, but it didn't. I liked the book fine, but again, I wasn't curious enough to continue on the series just because it almost looks like I mentioned, it's almost like a fantasy book that's trying to be like another book series that I like, and I'm trying to remember from Rena. I know it was a 4-star read, but it wasn't the kind of book that I would go back to and reread. That's why I'm not continuing on with the series, and I know I got that from a BookBooks many years ago, and that was for that reason that I've read it. But again, I'm just not continuing with the series, and I honestly don't remember anything that happened from that books, so that's why I stopped continuing with the series for that reason. But yeah, I just couldn't remember what happened in the book at all. And the last book series that I'm not continuing is Crier's War by Nina, I forgot the author's name. Let me look it up real quick. Nina Varela, I think that's how it's pronounced, and I apologize for that. All I remember from this book, it's almost like a fantasy sci-fi kind of world, and there was like a romance between a android and a human girl, if I remember correctly, and the human girl wants to take revenge on the main character, that because her kind killed her parents or something like that. I don't know. I don't remember. And I thought it was going to be a standalone book, but it didn't turn out that way. It was a duology, and yes, it could have continued on with the series, but I just wasn't curious enough to continue. So yeah, like I have a lot of same reasons for other previous book series. It's just, I have a love and hate relationship with sci-fi recently, and I haven't found a lot of sci-fi books that I like, and I have been confused about some of the sci-fi books that I've read, which is really sad because I know I like sci-fi and dystopian, but I just haven't found the books that I liked recently for some reason, but who knows, but yeah, I liked the book fine, but I just wasn't curious enough to continue on with the series. So that is all for the series that I won't be finishing. If you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up and comment down below what book series that you decided not to finish, because I would like to know. And if you haven't already, click the subscribe button, click the bell icon so you'll be notified when I post new videos. Also, you can follow me on social media like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Goodreads, which all links will be down below for you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!